Week 17 doesn't even feel like it starts with the Browns. For Steelers fans, it starts with one question. Is TJ Watt actually going to be available, or are we still stuck in that grey area where he's around the team, but not ready? Because when Watt isn't out there, everything changes. The whole defense looks different. Protection plans change, play calling changes, even the energy feels flatter. And after 2 straight games without him, every little practice detail suddenly matters more than the hype. So let's keep it clean and stick to what we can prove. First, the timeline. Watt hasn't been out since November. The big turning point was December 10, when he suffered a serious lung injury during a dry needling treatment and then underwent surgery to repair the damage. Multiple reports described it as a partially punctured or partially collapsed lung. That's why he has missed the Steelers' last 2 games and why the return timeline instantly became uncertain. Now the most important update of the week. He was finally back on the field Wednesday. The Steelers' official Week 17 practice report listed TJ Watt as a limited participant with a lung designation. Limited doesn't mean he's cleared for Sunday. It doesn't mean he's about to play a full snap load. But it does mean he's progressed enough to get back on the grass with the defense, and that alone is a real step forward. ESPN's report went one level deeper. Watt returned to practice for the first time since the injury, and his work was limited to individual drills with the defense, exactly the kind of controlled ramp you'd expect when a player is coming back from something medical, not just sore. Now listen to how Mike Tomlin is talking about it, because his wording tells you what the Steelers are trying to balance. In his weekly press conference, Tomlin said there was no new update on Watt, and he explained that he'd gain more information about Watt's potential participation early in the week and where that might lead. That's Tomlin in full information control mode. No promises, no timetable, just process. But inside that caution, there was one word that matters: hopeful. Tomlin said he's hopeful Watt will be able to return this weekend, while also making it clear the availability is still uncertain. And Tomlin also drew a line that fans should understand. He basically separated injury talk from medical talk, saying he'll let Watt speak in terms of the medical side. That's not coach speak for a simple strain. That's a reminder that this is a health situation, not just pain tolerance. That's exactly why the Steelers are moving step by step. So what does limited on Wednesday actually mean for Week 17? It means the door is open, but it also means the Steelers are taking the cautious ramp, not the fast lane. For a standard muscle injury, limited can be a routine maintenance day. For a lung injury after surgery, limited is more like a checkpoint. The hurdle isn't only whether he feels tough enough. It's whether he can breathe normally under stress, whether his body handles spikes in heart rate, and whether the medical staff is comfortable increasing his workload without risk. That's why these updates feel vague, because the biggest factor is clearance and recovery response, not willpower. This is how the return-to-play ramp usually looks for a star in this situation. Controlled individual drills first, then a measured increase, then teamwork, then the question everybody cares about: contact and full-speed reps. For an edge rusher, the test is brutal. It's not can you jog, it's can you explode off the line, bend, hand fight, finish, and then do it again, snap after snap. That repetitive, high-intensity output exposes whether you're truly ready or just present. That's why Wednesday mattered, but it wasn't the finish line. It was the first real proof that the comeback process has started. Now zoom out to the Week 17 environment. Pittsburgh goes to Cleveland in an AFC North game where everything is physical and every mistake gets punished. And Watt isn't just another defender. Even when he doesn't get a clean sack, he changes the math. He forces the quarterback to speed up, he forces extra protection help, and he creates the kind of one-play swing that can decide a division game. So the Steelers would love to have him back. The fans would love it. The defense would instantly level up. But here's the part fans have to accept. Lungs are not something you gamble with. A partially punctured or collapsed lung that required surgery is not a normal play-through-it injury. It's internal, it's medical. If there's even a small chance that pushing too hard could create a setback, the Steelers will lean conservative, especially this late in the season, when a healthy Watt in January might be worth more than a risky Watt in December. That's where my honest, fact-based read comes in. I'm going to call it straight, and I'm going to tell you exactly what would change my mind. Right now, based on the only concrete signal we have, limited participation on Wednesday, plus the way Tomlin is framing everything as hopeful but uncertain, I think the most likely path is that Watt gets listed as questionable, and this becomes a late-week decision. If I had to put real probabilities on it today, I'd say about a 40% chance he plays in Week 17, and about a 60% chance he sits one more week and targets Week 18 or the postseason as the real return point. Here, why I lean slightly towards sits. Limited work on Wednesday after lung surgery reads like the beginning of a ramp, not the final stage, and Tomlin's language, we'll gain further information, see where that might lead, is not the way he talks when a player is clearly ready. It's the way he talks when the team is still monitoring and doesn't want to overpromise. But the odds can swing fast, and this is the key for Steelers fans who want to predict it like a pro. If Thursday shows an upgrade, the confidence rises. If Friday shows full participation, I'd flip it and say he's more likely to play than sit, because full practice would mean he's not only feeling okay, he's functionally ready for football speed, and the staff is comfortable enough not to restrict him. If he stays limited all week, it's still possible he plays, but it's much more likely he'd be on some kind of managed workload. That could look like active but rotational, with the staff protecting him from an overly heavy snap count. That's a realistic compromise if he's medically cleared but not fully conditioned for repeated high-intensity bursts. And if he's downgraded or doesn't practice later in the week, then the simplest conclusion is that the comeback ramp hit a pause, and they'll protect him for the bigger picture. Also, don't underestimate the psychological side. Players like Watt want to be out there, but lung issues are one of the rare cases where even the toughest athletes have to listen, because you cannot tough your way through breathing restrictions. If the doctors say you're not ready, you're not ready. So if you want the best fan checklist for the next 48 hours, it's simple. Don't chase rumors, watch the practice status. Watch whether reporters say he did more than individual work, watch for any sign of team reps, and then watch the final game designation. Because if TJ Watt is active on Sunday, even if he's not 100% and even if he's on a managed workload, it still changes Cleveland's entire plan. It changes protections, it changes timing, it changes how fast the quarterback has to process, and it gives Pittsburgh back the one thing no stat sheet fully captures: that sudden, violent, game-tilting moment that only elite edge rushers create. And if he's not active, at least the direction is finally clear. He's back on the field, he's trending forward. And with January around the corner, the Steelers are doing what serious teams do with serious medical situations: move carefully, gather information, and let the week's work tell the truth. The only update that really matters is the one we got on Wednesday. TJ Watt was on the field limited, and the comeback clock is officially running today.